This is the 131st episode of CloudFocus Weekly for the last week of March 2013. This episode is titled Chatter for That. CloudFocus Weekly is sponsored by Arkus, your cloud community experts. I'm your host, Jason Atwood, and joining me for the 131st time in a row, consistently, is Justin playing around with his mic.
I'm just trying to... I got some feedback that you sound clearer and louder than I do.
Because I pronounce the words that I'm saying.
I do that too. I think it's a mic thing. You have the newer one. You're using a better USB. I don't know. I feel like you've rigged this to make yourself sound better than I do.
Maybe.
Maybe it's that setting on the back of the snowball. Yours is set to 3. What is mine set to? Yours goes to 3.
1.
Oh. Different settings.
All right. Well, there you go.
We don't even know what those settings do.
No, we do.
Numbers.
I've looked them up at one point.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
yours is probably right and mine's probably wrong.
Probably. Well, we are moving to a new podcasting studio in a few months.
Soon.
And at that point, we will re-look at everything. How's that?
I want it to have one of those lights that says off air, on air. I guess it's really just on air. It's either off or on.
Yes.
I want one of those.
Okay.
Can we get one?
We'll look into that for you.
Can we do that?
Maybe.
Make that happen.
I'll tell you what I can make happen.
Please.
The agenda.
Alrighty.
We have a blog post of the week talking about Do and Do.com and doing work on Do.com.
Doing it well.
And some of the integration with Salesforce. And then right as we were podcasting last week talking about all the woes of Google Drive, Google released Google Keep. So we'll talk about that. And then Benioff says, this is me saying, but all your UI belongs to Chatter, which is a internet meme, talking about Chatter and how a lot of the UI elements are going to move to it. And I can say, I called it. And then Apple goes to dual factor authentication, which is kind of cool for their iCloud. So we'll talk about that.
Is that out? I guess we'll talk about it then.
And then we'll talk about the CloudFocus app pick of the week, where right now in the notes it says Justin's best pick ever.
That's
so 131
right.
picks
in all caps.
In all caps.
In all caps it says Justin's best pick ever.
So where you're supposed to actually write your pick.
Point.
That's what you've picked.
I was gonna tell I feel bad because I was gonna tell you about this when I discovered it because you will really love it. But then I was like, no.
What happens if I don't love it?
Because you will. I'm not even going to tell you about it because I'm going to wait till the show.
That's great. I think that's good.
You're going to download it and you're going to love it.
All right. We'll see. All right. Things that I certainly maybe love is the blog post of the week. Doing work with Do.com.
Yes.
Posted by one of the many here at the Arkus factory, where we churn out Salesforce work.
And project managers and every other little widget that you want to produce.
So this one was really talking about how the new integration with Salesforce and how Do.com, you talked about it a long time ago.
I talked about it last year, probably around this time.
It's like
maybe
July,
a little later. Where I managed the project of moving into and purchasing a new apartment with someone else and collaborating with her, the little lady, on getting all the items and tasks that need to be accomplished in one place so that we weren't just like, one of us wasn't writing stuff on one piece of paper and the other one was doing something somewhere else. We used Do to handle that, and it worked very well. It was a place where we can go in and categorize and put into little folders and check off the items as they occurred. I think this blog post talks about just that, right? Just doing work in Do, which has evolved over the last year, because I can honestly say I have not used it since then. I haven't had the need to. I have other places where I manage tasks and don't need them to really be so collaborative there for me.
It's funny because a client who apparently reads our blog asked me today, and I had posted it only an hour before, so said, what's this Do.com, or is Do.com free? And I was like, oh, you read our blog? She's like, yeah, I read your blog. I'm like, all right. She's like, well, do you guys use Do? And I said, not really. She goes, what do you use for task management? I said, well, I use a very specialized program. I almost feel like some sort of
I will not tell you.
crack dealer or something. It's like I have a problem. It's like I use a OmniFocus.
I use this thing.
And it's like so much more powerful than
if I
anybody
had to
needs.
explain it to you, we'd have to sit here for 5 hours.
Your head would explode. So,
but this was very much about doing work within do.com, how it's organized, and how they've now broken it into projects and deals, which I think is interesting because it's moving into the direction of collaborating on things that would happen inside of Salesforce as they relate to an account or an opportunity. Like an account, you might have a project that you're working on, an opportunity, obviously that's a deal. And those are, I think, the two objects that are supported in the integration at this point, where it really just, from the looks of it and from the description of the in the blog post, it really just puts a little Visualforce section on a page that has a link to any of the projects that are in relation to that account or opportunity.
So is it just... So I just had a thought because I was thinking about Do and Desk and Work.com. And I was thinking, like, is it just me or do you want them to actually just integrate them completely? Like,
yes.
They having these side...
I don't want the App Exchange application to get my integration between your products. I just want them integrated.
Yeah.
And if I want to use them, I don't want to have to install this App Exchange package. Because to me, that's a very different animal than it being a core piece of the product. If it's an App Exchange application has a very different, to me, standard of upkeep than the core does. So if it's built into the core...
Yeah, I could point to many things in the core that haven't been upkept.
Yeah, but I think an App Exchange package could just be left there for years and years and years.
Salesforce Labs, anybody?
Yeah, but those are like free, open source. Here they are. I'm integrating my products. It's kind of like the social media for Salesforce integration that is always shown on the stage that looks really fancy and nice.
Right.
But it's this App Exchange product that I'd rather that just be built into the core of the product.
Right.
As opposed to like social contacts, which is part of the core of the product, which isn't quite as useful. But
I just side note, on the App Exchange, I went to something the other day. I wish there was a note somewhere like last update. I see this in the App Store, the Mac App Store, or the iOS App Store. You can look, when you're looking at an application, like what application you want to buy, one of the things I look at is like last update. So when did someone put out the last version of this?
Doesn't it have that?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't actually.
Serious?
It tells you when it was launched, but never when it was last updated.
Oh, it has the launch date, but not
the launch date's is useless, actually.
Yeah.
Because you launched yesterday. I mean, I guess that's sort of interesting. But if you launched 3 years ago, I don't know how many versions you've put out.
So if I go to Click Tools, which is a really old application, yeah, it just has release 2006.
Right. So
it doesn't really say.
That doesn't tell you
when the newest patch version has been.
Because releases
updated
on the App Exchange, if people are keeping up with it, then you want to know. So like one of the things we talk about Plone, but in the Plone has their own version of, not the App Store, but they list things you can install, like products for Plone. And one of the things that they automatically do is if something hasn't been anything released in a year, they put this big bar on the top that says this product does not have a current release or has not had a release in over a year. Buyer beware, or clicker beware. Because when you're looking at something, it's like it could have a couple reviews, and maybe it has a review from a couple months ago. Most things in the App Store have a couple hundred, not couple, but like 10, 15 reviews. Unlike the or the App Exchange, unlike the App Store where there's could be thousands of reviews. So like you can't even look to reviews to see the recent reviews. So it's just something I think the App Exchange should take notice of, is that you should show. I'd not only like to see the last update, I'd kind of like to see a release set. Like, show me the last 3 or 4 times they pushed a new part of this package, because that shows you, are they keeping up with it? Are they putting in code? And as we push our code out there and we update it pretty frequently, I mean, every couple months at least, with a bug or a fix or a new feature, I'd kind of like that to be known. So like when you install the permissioner, you're going, the Arkus kids, they stick up with this, right? They're updating it.
Back to do.
Back to do.
Bringing this back to do.
Yeah. I'm with you.
Give it a try.
Here's why would I want to use it?
I'm not asking you because I know you won't.
Oh, okay.
Because I know what you use for task management, and there's no reason for you to do it. I'm saying you, the proverbial you, the audience, the listeners,
okay,
our faithful followers.
Okay.
Give it a shot.
Yeah.
Go to the blog post. Tell us what you use Do for. I'm interested. I want to know what people use Do for. I told you I used it, once to move into an apartment with someone else. If there was another project that I was collaborating on with someone else, I might use Do. I might use a Google Sheet. I don't know. Have to see. But, Do allows for some nice things. It has a nice mobile app.
Yep.
And
there's not many places where you can assign, a free place that you can assign tasks to others that has sort of visibility and, task management. A joint task management is not easy to find. There's lots of task managers, but have joint task management.
It's joint. It's when you're collaborating.
Right. Which is good. So, cool.
Go to the blog and comment on it. I really want to know, what people out there who use Do, what do you use it for?
blog.arkusinc.com. All right. Next up, this was released right after, and I will say Google, bad timing Google. And I know they probably don't have any say, but so last week we talked about two things. One was Google Reader is being shuttered as of July 1st, and then they had 3 outages of Google Drive during the week.
That was annoying.
And
man, was that annoying.
So we as big Google Drive users were like, oh man, and we made the comment, here they are putting, because one of the reasons they say they're shutting down Google Reader is, it's lowering their, people are using it less and less, and we're like, well, look at that, you can't even keep up this thing that is the big product, but you're shuttering down this other thing. Then they released Google Keep, which is an Evernote sort of competitor. I actually haven't used it, so full disclosure, but I've read a great review today, maybe on TechCrunch or something, and it really went Evernote versus Google Keep, and really came out to say Evernote is much better in almost all aspects, except for Google Keep integrates with Drive.
Right.
So if you're in Drive and use Drive, then this is nice because it kind of sits right in Drive.
Is it like a folder or just
I don't even know how it works within Drive, but that integrates with it.
So I have a few things on this. I've thought about this a little bit.
Oh, good.
So
as opposed to the rest of the podcast.
Usually when I don't think about anything.
Okay.
And I'm flying by the seat of my pants. So Google had a service like this. Google Notebook
that they killed off.
Google Notebook I used, and it allowed you to do little web clippings, and it allowed you, and I thought it was awesome. It was like, I could do little web clippings, and it's like my little notebook, and I can have things stored in here, and I can even make them public. It was just like Evernote,
right,
before Evernote, and then that just disappeared. So I've got a new take and a new stance that I'm taking about Google products.
Don't use them.
I'm not using any Google product outside of search that is not a part of the Google App Suite that an enterprise can pay for to use.
Google Reader, Google Wave, both part of the enterprise app suite.
No.
Yeah.
No. It's part of it because you could single sign on to it and it was part of your account, but you weren't paying for Google Reader or Google Wave. It just so happened that you can use the login to get to it. When I think of the Google
so you're
App
saying
Suite
something that's not free,
right?
That's a difference.
These consumer things that they're coming, I would never use this the way I use Evernote for fear that all of a sudden all my notes would just disappear. I actually don't.
Well, they would not. I don't fear that all my notes would disappear.
Well, I don't fear that Evernote's gonna.
Why not?
I just don't.
You don't feel that Evernote could go out of business? That Evernote could be bought? That could be bought by IBM?
At this point, I have more confidence in them to stay around and keep my notes intact than I do Google, which is sad. But the truth.
I totally agree. I mean, I have different... But let's take a couple things.
But
I don't think Evernote's going to be around longer than Google. I think Google will be around longer than Evernote.
Sure.
But what Google has done that has made us...
It's the confidence.
Because they decide to kill off stuff. And there's actually an article on Tech Dirt talking about basically saying, do you trust Google anymore when it comes to these consumer-based kind of don't want to say fly by night, but kind of, they're like nice things, but you could use them a lot.
Until they tell me that Google Note, is that what it's called?
Keep.
Google Keep, sorry. Yeah. In the title of the thing it says Note, but until
Okay.
they say Google Keep is a part of the Google Apps suite, the way that like Microsoft OneNote is part of the Microsoft Productivity Suite and integrates with Outlook and all that other stuff. Until they say this is part of the enterprise thing that you're getting for that $50, I won't use it.
Okay.
Consumer or professional.
Well, I think you're not thinking through, because even though things are part of the suite, that doesn't mean that they can't kill it off. So think about this. We use Google Docs. Google Docs is massive.
Google Drive, right? We use
Drive, Docs,
we use Gmail,
Calendar.
we use Calendar.
Right. But that's not to say that
Google's not going to be like, oh, Google Calendar's gone tomorrow.
Absolutely.
See, I think it's too much a part of the suite that they sell. You can't sell a productivity suite that says replace your Exchange with Gmail, but oh, by the way, it doesn't include a calendar.
By the way, they used to sell it with Postini Postini. Then they
doesn't
killed off
include a
Postini.
but it doesn't include a calendar.
No, I understand.
So replace your Exchange environment, but no calendar. Sorry.
They used to Google Gmail. They just killed off the ability for Gmail to use Exchange. They used to have you used to be able to connect up to Google with Exchange, with the Exchange preferences. So basically, they licensed the Exchange thing from Microsoft, and you could, using your iOS device, was one of the ways, because it had real true push, because Exchange does real true push and read receipt and all that. Well, they used to be able to. They used to knew it, but they killed off that feature. So there was something that enterprise people might have been very relying on, that you can actually hook up through Exchange using their Exchange protocol to Google Gmail.
But now can't you do the same thing with just the Gmail protocol?
But it's not Exchange.
Right, but it's
not the same thing.
It's not. They didn't give all the same features in their own service.
It's not. I mean, there are different pieces of it that are. I mean, Google now has push, and they have the same stuff, but that's like saying it's not, because Exchange had its own set of APIs and parameters and things that it was going to use, and that if you were someone who is using that, the point is they killed it. They said, we're not going to support that anymore, because they were licensing it from Microsoft, their competitor. So I agree. I think, to me, this brings up one big thing that we can talk about, which is that, trust the cloud, but have a backup plan, right? What's your backup plan if anything we talk about decided to go bye-bye? And then, how much, I have a backup plan for Evernote. I've actually, before I put all my stuff in Evernote, I looked at how to get stuff out of Evernote. And actually, one of the reasons I don't put more into Evernote, like PDFs, because there's no easy way to get PDFs out. They're all stored in these little directories. So I looked at the other day, I was thinking about all the stuff I'm buying on Kindle. So I researched, how do you kill the DRM on Kindle? If Amazon decided to go away and decided to not do Kindle anymore, could I take all my Kindle books and rip out the DRM and throw them into just some old normal reader? The answer is yes, I could. So it's like, this is part of anything you have to, any of the Apple stuff, you have to think. If they took it away, is there a replacement that can move? And then is there a migration path? How could I, move? And we moved from Google Wave to Google Drive or Docs at the time.
Apple's done this in the consumer world with, the Mobile Me stuff, with the galleries and the
web
documents, the web pages,
web.com,
right?
or whatever it was.
Yeah, the
iWeb.
Yep. But also the documents for a short time before iCloud, like, they were experimenting.
Yeah.
They're basically building this stuff out. I just don't like Google experimenting with consumer products, and then until they make it to this is part of the enterprise offering,
I hear you.
I don't trust them at all.
I don't know if they actually say that. That's the thing. Like, there's no move, because what they do is they just make it a thing you can turn on inside of your enterprise. And if you turn it on, Wave was one of those things. Like, Sites is one of those. Sites, perfect example. They could kill off Sites.
Right.
And they probably will.
And Blogger, haven't they killed that off?
Well, Blogger was owned by someone else. But they could turn off Sites tomorrow, right? Think about it. Sites is something that's kind of fringe. I've been playing around with it a lot. It's okay, but it doesn't look like it's as up to date as Docs is. It's like some of the editing stuff's a little bit strange. I can see usership going. I mean, there are so many places like Squarespace that you can go build a website in 5 seconds. Much, much better. They have much more. Yeah, you know what Sites doesn't
Sites
have?
is a lot for like an intranet.
Well, but it has the
ability,
but it has
the wiki type stuff.
But it has the ability to make it external and host it as a real website. So, but that's one of those things I could totally see them going 2 years and say,
I would look at, hey Google, I'm paying you, the $50 user a month.
Not that much, but yeah.
Wasn't it $50 user a year?
Year.
Sorry, I said a month. I'm so used to saying a month.
Yeah.
A year.
It's $12, whatever it is. No, it's not even that. It's
whatever it is.
$4.32.
So, what do I get?
Yeah. You get a suite, but that suite is a moving target.
What are the line items? What do I get?
It doesn't give you a line item. That's the thing. Log into the control panel, and there's literally a list of all their products.
Yeah, see, that's not fun.
They killed off Google. They killed off Google Sites for Google Video for Business. Used to be one of the parts. So there's a business product thing, right? They killed that off. I think it's completely possible. You just have to be careful of, again, this is part of the podcast. I would say, be careful of where you go down, and you should really investigate. I would say for Evernote, I used to use another note. I forgot what I used before Evernote. I forgot what it was, but it was something that sunk and all that.
You'd have to say that. Sorry to cut you off while you're thinking of your product, but you'd have to say Microsoft probably does a better job of this stuff. When you're thinking of it from a sort of like a prosumer perspective, like you wouldn't, like, I think of OneNote as sort of the parallel to this,
right?
And you wouldn't see necessarily Microsoft killing off OneNote because they'll just let something live forever.
Well, and it's true, and they sell into enterprises more, and that's one of their deals with the enterprise. You need to support XP for the next 10 years, and they do. They support stuff out. I mean, Microsoft, they support stuff out very, very long, but also the side argument to that is maybe that's what keeps them from innovating. They're not an innovative company. We talked about that last week. So, it's a little bit of pros and cons. Like, I love that Google's innovating and always putting stuff in. To me, this is not about Keep and Evernote. This is about timing. Yeah. Because if you'd done this 4 weeks later, when everybody just forgotten that you just killed off Reader.
Or 3 weeks earlier.
People
would have been like, ooh.
Well, there you go. Then you could say, we kill off Reader so we can bring you new stuff like Keep.
Right.
But, like, doing it right after you kill off a product that people are not happy with. And
by the way, have you gone to, like, Outlook.com? You seen the new thing?
No, I haven't.
Oh, they have like a new mail service.
Oh, I've seen it. I've seen the pictures. I've seen the reviews.
I don't think it's a new.
It's Hotmail.
It's just Hotmail.
It's rebranded Hotmail.
Like, I went to sign up for an at Outlook.com, and that doesn't exist. It's just a website. I was surprised by that.
Oh, you can't get at Outlook.com?
That's what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. I'll tell you, the hidden secret of email, one of the most reliable email services I've ever used. If you don't, I mean, they have a great website too, but I never use it, is Rackspace's email service. It is the most reliable thing. I never even think about it, and I have like 4 accounts on it. Gmail, occasionally you have an issue, but I never have
Once in a
Rackspace
while.
an issue. All right, so I agree. I'm not using Keep. I was going to say about Evernote, I have lots of notes. I mean, I have like 500 notes that I've had with me for years. I have stuff I wrote 10 years ago in notes, right? And so when I moved from whatever it was to Evernote, I literally did a parallel thing with Evernote and had it for a good year, and then I used it for another 2 years, and then I paid them. And I said, all right, now I have Evernote Premium, whatever, because I was like, I could, they proved over a track record they were, that they were serious, that they were going to stick around. They weren't just some company ready to be bought. All right. Next up is an article on TechCrunch. Speaking of TechCrunch. So I think this came from his Boston tour of the new Salesforce message, and he was
customer focus.
And he's saying that
customer company
that Chatter, well, this is like Chatter will become the primary interface for Salesforce.
Yep.
Which, A, I predicted. B,
good for you.
B, really concerned about.
Me too. I have a hard time getting people to get Chatter now. And if Chatter's going to be the place where people go and input fields and if that's the primary interface for entering data, it doesn't seem like it is the right place to be entering data. I don't know if they've shown screenshots or what they're even talking about, but I mean, it doesn't seem like even the right way to consume a massive amount of data. That to me is still a report, and a form is still a form. It's not a feed item. Like it just doesn't jive. I'm very skeptical. I have to see it. I have to see what he means.
I think, and again, it's a quick little quote and it's a little bit about it, but I think what they're saying, and you're seeing it, is that they're going to be putting more and more functionality into Chatter, and that you're going to be doing more and more. I don't think it's ever going to stop you entering in a first name from a contact, but I think you're going to be doing more and more of your work inside of Chatter. And again, like Chatter tasks going up there, like polls, like files. When you think about the things that used to be sort of only in down below in the related lists, how those are kind of bubbling up into Chatter. So just take that and extrapolate. What if other related objects were going to be chattering? What happens if you could control how they looked in Chatter a little bit better, right? What happens if you could you added a well, I mean, tasks already exist, but you added a contact to an account, and that contact's details chattered on the account Chatter. So I mean, and then maybe you could right-click, change, follow right from in the Chatter feed, and or change a little piece of that. Oh, the name is wrong. Click, change, hit save. I didn't have to get to the contact to be able to do that. I just did that within the Chatter stream. I think that way, oh, okay, I get it. It's just another way to see and or view and or change data. Then it kind of gets, I get it more.
That's not exactly what he said, though.
Well, it kind of
is. What you're saying is there's a slight augmentation in the way that you can interact with data. And I think his quote was that it's going to be the primary user interface for CRM. That's what you said and what he said are two completely different things.
But
primary user interface.
I'm the realist. I'm the person who's been doing Salesforce work for 10-something years.
He's the one who invented Salesforce.
I understand, but he's the visionary.
So he has a little bit.
He's doing
your
envisionment.
Your street cred. He's got more.
I know.
He's got a little more.
What I'm saying is that he's doing visionary statements. I'm doing what reality could look like. Right? Visionary statement. Everybody will fly around in cars flying cars. Reality.
I'm waiting.
People have hoverboards.
2015 is right around the corner, and I want my flying DeLorean.
Yeah, it ain't gonna happen.
I think I've now mentioned the DeLorean twice in the last.
You have a thing with DeLoreans.
Oh, I love me some Back to the Future. Well, anyway, we'll see.
Is a vision.
We'll see where this comes.
We'll
see where this goes. We'll see what happens a year from now or year and a half from now.
Look at
2014.
Again, look at what he's looking at from a man who's talking about how the social enterprises and applications and Web 3.0 or whatever you want to call them are taking over the world. Twitter and Facebook and Foursquare and Pinterest are the new way that people talk and deal with data now, right? They deal it in streams, they deal it in posts, they deal it in comments, they deal it in hashtags. What he's saying is, just like 10 years ago when everybody was moving from a mainframe a mainframe screen to a website, and things were tabs and things of search, right, which was 10 years ago. Now things are moving towards the new interface. The new interface for our consumer stuff is feeds and following and changing.
But a lot of that stuff is very loose and unstructured.
Totally.
It's all unstructured.
And Salesforce is absolutely structured. So it's a weird mix.
Structured.
It's a weird mix.
Very weird. CRM data is very structured data.
I challenge you, Benny. I challenge you to make it right.
I challenge him too.
Do it right. All right.
You know what I challenge you?
Yeah.
With the two-factor authentication.
So this also came out right after we talked.
You are hereby challenged.
Well, after Evernote gets hacked 2 weeks ago, Dropbox did two-factor, Google does two-factor, and now Apple has released two-factor authentication for their two-step verification system for their Apple IDs, meaning that when you're going to go change something, go into your account, change your credit card or something like that, you can sign up for and be part of a two-factor, meaning it's going to say username and password, which is the first factor, and the second factor is going to be something else it knows about you. So it might be sending something to your phone, it might be sending something to your iPad, it might be sending something to your email address, very much like what we've talked about a lot. I think this is great. It's about time. I mean, Apple is a consumer company and has to deal with millions and millions of people, as opposed to Dropbox that has much less. So you have to sign up online, and I think so. A couple things about how they did it. You go in, you go through this whole process to tell you how you're going to do it, and then it literally says you need to now wait 3 days before you can activate it. And the little description was you have to wait 3 days because we want to make sure that you're you, and we figure if we leave the time waiting a little bit, then it's going to make sure that you don't, that it's not just someone else going in and hacking your account to turn on two-factor. So anyway, I haven't gone all the way through. I signed up for it. I think it's been 3 days, so maybe I have to go back and see if I can actually enable it. But I'm all for two-factor. Two-factor on anything. Dropbox, Evernote, whatever it is, I want it, because this stuff, the amount of data and stuff I have in these systems, I want more and more and better security. And not that this makes passwords you don't have to have really good passwords, but it makes that you have to go from one place to another, and it adds a level of security on top of a password, even a bad password, because you still can't get in. Right? You can have an email you can have a password for Salesforce that's password. It could be a really bad password, but if someone tries to go log into your Salesforce, they can't, because they can't get authenticated, because they can't go through the two-step. So very good on you, Apple. Good stuff. Let's get Evernote to do it now, and we'll all be happy. Salesforce is actually releasing their thing. They're making people sign up phones. You see that?
Yes, I got about 40 of them.
Yeah. So that SMS thing that you didn't sign up for, you now need to sign up for, and they're going to start to tell you when you log in that you need to authenticate your cell phone for the SMS two-factoring. So very cool. All right, I know you. By the way, he for the last. So you know why you can't hear him? Because he's not even looking at me. Because he's not even
my app.
He's not even looking at me for the last 10 minutes.
I don't care about you. I care about this app.
All right, guys. CloudFocus app pick of the week.
App from Justin ever.
All right, here we go.
Right.
Nothing like a lead-in like that to make it sound.
So
yes.
2 pre-stories.
Oh, jeez.
1, I sent you a meeting invite last week, and it included GoToMeeting details for you to join, and you shot back to me saying, hey, from now on, can you do what I do?
Yep.
And include the mobile dial-in number?
Yep.
It includes like commas and things and all sorts of fun stuff. You're going to be so
upset with your pick.
Why am I going to be? Do you already have it or something? I hate you.
I already looked at all these.
I hate you so much. No, this one's really good.
Let's see if it's the one of the 2 or 3 that I bought 2 weeks ago.
Well, this one was free, so if you bought anything, you got
bought
screwed.
a couple of them.
All right. Well,
anyway,
we'll keep going. So that was 1. Number 2, I'll say very, very. They're very good on the social marketing. So it just showed up in my Facebook feed. It knew I was thinking about this. And I was like, oh, let me try it. And I'm on my phone looking at my Facebook feed. I click the link, and it, boom, brings me over to the store and starts downloading it. Okay.
Well, hopefully it didn't start downloading. You
clicked
it down.
I clicked it. Whatever.
All right.
So the app's called Mobile Day. Damn you. You know this app?
I've had it for 2 weeks.
Isn't it great? So Mobile Day, let me explain it to people. So,
I love it.
It's so great. You didn't outjust in anything. You didn't pick it.
I literally didn't pick it because... Oh, anyway. Go ahead.
Why didn't you pick it?
I'll explain.
Well,
because I tested it thoroughly.
Well, I've tested it, and I love it.
Explain it.
So it reads from your calendar.
Yep.
You can sign in using your Twitter or whatever.
It just picks out your Apple calendar, all your Apple calendars.
You need to register, so you can sign in using Twitter or Facebook as your authentication, whatever. It then goes through your calendar. It needs, you need to provide it access to things like calendars, contacts, location, things of that nature, and then it picks out from within your calendar the location and the details of where your meeting is, right?
Yep.
So if it's a dial-in, it knows how to dial into the conference call for you. So it knows you don't need to look at the phone number and then, go to the keypad and dial in the code. It knows how to do all that stuff for you.
Yep.
If it's a web meeting, it knows that as well. And you can click a little icon and it'll launch you into either the GoToMeeting or the WebEx if you have those apps on your phone as well, which is pretty neat.
Yep.
And it gives you little pop-up reminders like, hey, you're the host of a meeting that's coming up, or you're invited to a couple meetings or whatever.
Yep.
And pops it up for you. So I've been using it for the last, week or so, ever since you sent me that email. And I have found that it works pretty brilliantly. Like, if there's a phone number, it knows how to dial into it. If there's a web conference, it understands to open up the WebEx or the GoToMeeting app on my phone and get me into it. Or I can just dial into it without the GoToMeeting link or whatever. Mm-hmm. I find that this thing works really well. What's your issue with it? Because you're looking at me like, yeah, I'm about to tell you why it's terrible.
No, I literally checked it out. So this came about from my own insanity. Actually, from years ago, I remember a BlackBerry user telling me, and this is like 5 years ago when I used to work at that big company.
Yeah.
They used to say, well, one of the things, because we're talking about iPhone and BlackBerry, and she said, well, I only use, I like BlackBerry because it allows you to dial into, from your calendar, allows you to dial into
right.
things. It understands. And if you saw a lot of people put in their calendar invite
yes.
a link, or they put it in the location and they put it with the hashtag, the comma, whatever. So I actually challenged someone here at work with the challenge 4 weeks ago. I said, figure out how this works. I don't have the time, but figure out how it works. Figure out how to put into a calendar invite, so on my iPhone, which is the only place I really need it, that I can click a link and it'll dial me into the meeting. Like, figure that out. He came back like 3 days later and said, can't be done.
That's not the right answer.
Yeah, I know. So then I said, oh, okay, can't be done. So then I went to look for these apps, and I tried like 4 of them.
You tried the one that you tried.
Tried Mobile Day. I literally was just moving them into other folders today.
So tell me why you don't like Mobile Day.
Because I tried it with a bunch of different ones, and it was hit or miss. So on like 5 different calls, it maybe got 3 of them. So yes, it gets one that's a go-to. That's the traditional go-to thing. But if someone had written it in and hadn't written it correctly, it didn't work. Like if they'd put it all over, or if there was a couple scenarios where it didn't get it. And so at that point, I thought, well, all right.
Well, so isn't that like you're at the behest of the person who's putting it in?
Absolutely.
So if you're not,
we put in 90% of our own calendar events.
Well, yeah.
So
sure.
then, if we put in our
own, but this works great for anything that I would ever put in. It works fabulously.
Yeah. Again, here's the other thing. Then it's enough. So when I went to look at it, you have to go to that. Where I'm usually at is my calendar event pops open, my actual Apple calendar.
This thing actually pops open.
But now that's another thing that's popping open on my thing to tell me something's going on. And in the calendar, when I swipe in, and I just want the link right there. So anyway, I then went and investigated it, figured out how to do it on the iPhone, and then built it into my text expander, so it's just built in. It's like I just hit go. I put GTM, it fills out GoToMeeting and the mobile link, and it works like a charm on the iPhone. So I gave up these 2 apps because I was like, I don't need to.
I like Mobile Day. For those who are lazy and don't want to do this thing, it's a free app. It's out there. It works really, really well. I have yet to have a problem with it dialing into anything.
Oh, we'll see.
And again, I've yet to have a problem with it like going into the web portion. Like join the GoToMeeting.
But the link would work, doesn't it? The normal link work to go into the web?
But it has that's the point. It's all in the one place. It has it in there. It knows the.
So does the calendar event. The calendar event has the link to get into GoToMeeting too.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is different? This is a one. If I want to dial into it, or do I want to go into the GoToMe, I have the choice. Like I don't. It understands. Like I can click the phone icon, or I can click the web icon.
And maybe I'll go back and take a look, but there was something about it that didn't work, or didn't like the way it did it, and that's why I went back to investigating how to do it.
Any meeting that anyone has set up for me since that I've tried to use it for, it's worked just fine.
All right. Well, I'm actually going to do something that we've been complaining about for a while. Oh, by the way, there's Mobile Day and there's another one if you want to check out the other one.
No. There is no other one. There's mobile
Dial
day.
Meeting. Dial Meeting's another one, and there's one other too.
There's something that is a companion to it that for your iPad, that if you install it, which is also free but uses Google Voice, where you can turn the iPad, you can use it on the iPad to dial into meetings as well.
So, all right, off your pick, onto my pick.
So get to it, because you were like hijacking my pick.
Yeah, well, your pick was an old pick.
It wasn't old
didn't
at
pick
all.
it.
Nobody.
I intentionally didn't pick it.
Wow. I intentionally didn't pick your pick either. You know why? Because it's no good.
Yeah?
No good.
My pick's going to be better than your pick.
I don't
you ready
like
for
it.
it?
I already don't like it.
What have we talked about before? What have we talked about? The one thing that we want. Oh, he's all mad now. He's so mad. He's so mad.
So mad. I wrote in there the best pick ever.
Yeah.
You're like, I've had that
for 3 weeks.
I hate that.
I know it's competitors.
I hate that app.
So what have we talked about forever?
I don't know. Are you going to answer your own question?
Yes. So we go to I think I've talked about this on the podcast, like having the different cards, the different loyalty cards.
Oh, yeah.
So I was at a place the other day. I had brought up my loyalty card, and I was like, oh, here we go. Nope. And I was like,
Chopped.
Nope. And I brought, that's the one that we talked about.
That's the one that we talked about.
Right. So I was at this other place, and I brought my loyalty card. It's like 15% off or whatever if you get 15 stamps or whatever. And I brought it out, and they're like, oh yeah, you're okay. You're done with those. And they said, but when you're done with those, you should try the app. And I'm like, oh, an app. And I said, is it your own specific app? They're like, no, it's called.
There's a few of these, by the way. It's
well,
like a network. They're like fighting.
I want them all to
they're
win.
All battle.
Or
no,
buy them
they're
by each
yeah,
other.
they all need to join forces.
But even if there's 7 of them, fine. If as long as they all fit, as long as they all have my phone, they're not on my wallet. So anyway, it's called App. What's this one called? App Card. Yeah, and so it has a local place that we go to, or you might go to buy stuff.
Go there. You go there.
So if you go in,
oh, look at that.
You sign up with your mobile number. You give them your mobile number. They pump it into the computer. It then sends you a text to download the app. Then you register with it, and then it gives you the points.
Oh.
So it keeps track of how many things you have, and you can get.
This is on your iPhone.
This is on my iPhone. So it's an app. So it's an app, an iPhone app. But they're starting to get more and more. Starting to get more and more.
By the way, Mobile Day is available for the iPhone and the Android.
Oh, good. Very good. Anyway.
Just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, you're still trying. App Card, a loyalty program thing, again, has to be the ones that you use, but at least I know
there's
now.
There's a lot of these now.
But not having them in my wallet and moving to my iPhone is like the best.
Yes.
If there was 7, I'd put them in a little folder
and
call it
there
App Card.
There
whatever.
probably are. I think there's one called like Buddy something.
Buddy Cards or whatever.
Somewhere other.
Anyway, if you're Dwayne Reed, if you're all these other ones, if you're Chopped, get off the cards and move to these things because I don't want to carry around 17 cards anymore. So it's called App Card. It's free. I haven't actually redeemed one yet, but I have my 2 things from buying the other day. Pretty cool. And I could totally see this, like, if I were one of these companies, if I were Groupon, I would buy one of these things because Groupon paired with that, right? So you get the loyalty card stuff and the discounts. Boom goes the dynamite. All right. So App Card, find it wherever you want. APP Card. That's it for this week. CloudFocus Weekly. It's Justin in the most amazing pick ever.
It's a good pick.
At Just Edelstein. I'm at Jason M. Atwood. At Arkus Inc.
Like, lots more Twitter followers than you. You're just pissed.
Is that what you're going to go to?
That's where I'm
Really? Is that what you're going to go to?
That's where I start and finish.
Okay. Anyway, we'll be back in a couple weeks. Follow us on Facebook, on Twitter.
Couple weeks.
Or next week.
What's wrong with next week?
Is there one week that we're... No, I guess we'll do it. We can do a remote one.
Why
we're down
next week?
We're not next week, but in 3 weeks we're going to be away.
For the whole week?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
maybe we'll skip it.
No, we'll bring
Or maybe we'll do it from where we're going to be.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Might be interesting.
That'll be fun.
Like live from...
live from, but then we got to bring the freaking snowballs.
Maybe we'll do it without the snowball.
Maybe. All right. In the meantime, go to iTunes, subscribe, follow us everywhere. Go to the Dreamforce portal. By the way, there's Dreamforce news in the Dreamforce portal. The pre-registration price is up.
Oh.
And you have to sign up for it. You
Go
can't register.
get it.
$7.99 is the
$7.99
pre-registration. So by the way,
good thing I'll be speaking again.
Yeah, good thing I will have 3 free passes. But yeah, well, we sponsor, so we get free passes.
Good thing I signed up to speak a few times.
I did too. And then there's the whole MVP thing.
I signed you
that.
up to speak.
I put in a couple other ones too.
Oh.
You should go check it out. I put in one that I think you might be interested in. I think it was a good one. It came from our podcast, The State of Support. I thought it would be a good one. Anyway, that's enough. We'll see you in a couple weeks or next week. How about just next week? That's it. Jason and Justin saying, enjoy those cloudy days.